The space station floated like a jewel in the void. Lights blinked across its wide surface, and dozens of ships came and went every hour. For travelers, it was a place of trade, rest, and meetings. For smugglers, it was a place to hide. For soldiers, it was neutral ground, a fragile peace kept by silent agreements. Among the crowds in Docking Bay 9 stood a human named Marcus Hale. He was not a young man anymore, though he still moved with the sharp posture of someone who had once worn a uniform. His hair had streaks of gray, his face carried old scars, and his eyes carried the weight of battles he preferred not to remember. Marcus had left the military years ago. He now worked as a pilot for hire, transporting cargo, ferrying passengers, and sometimes delivering things people did not want noticed by the authorities. His ship, the Iron Wind, was not beautiful, but it was reliable, at least most of the time. That day, Marcus waited for a shipment that was running late. He leaned against a cargo crate, sipping a cup of bitter station coffee, when the noise around him shifted. Conversations fell into whispers, and footsteps slowed. A large figure entered the bay. It was an alien general. The being was tall, armored, in polished black plates lined with glowing silver marks. His skin, visible only at the throat and hands, was dark green with faint ridges. His eyes glowed faintly golden, scanning the bay with the calm confidence of someone used to command. Soldiers in his escort walked behind him, but even they seemed to follow his pace rather than protect him. Marcus frowned. He knew the species, Drexari. They were powerful warriors, known for their discipline and brutal efficiency in war. Humans had clashed with them once long ago, though a treaty had ended open conflict. Still, most humans kept their distance. Drexari generals were not in the habit of strolling into docking bays without reason. The general's gaze swept the crowd, then stopped. On Marcus. The general walked straight toward him, the sound of armored boots echoing across the metal floor. Marcus put down his cup and stood up, ready for trouble. But what came next froze him more than any weapon could. The alien general stopped in front of him, towering over the human, and spoke in a low, calm voice. "My father always talked about you." Marcus blinked. For a moment he wondered if he had misheard. Around them, silence filled the bay. Curious onlookers watched from the edges. "I think you've got the wrong man," Marcus said carefully. "I don't know your father." But the general shook his head. "No mistake. He told me your name when I was young. Marcus Hale, the human strategist, the one who changed the course of battles others thought lost." A cold feeling spread through Marcus. He had never met a Drexari general's family. During the wars, he had commanded ships, yes, but he had never shared a battlefield with Drexari allies. To his knowledge, Drexari had never fought beside humans at all. "You'll forgive me if I say I'm confused," Marcus replied. His voice stayed steady, but inside he was alert, ready for any sudden move. The general leaned closer, lowering his voice so that only Marcus could hear. "My father is dead now, but before he passed, he left me a message. He said that one day I would find you, and that you would be the key to saving more than my people. He said your decisions once saved his life." Marcus's heartbeat quickened. Old memories stirred. Battles fought in secret sectors, missions unrecorded in public histories, moments where orders had been vague and alliances unclear. Had he unknowingly saved a Drexari commander once? And if so, why would that commander have spoken of him so often to his own son? The general straightened and said more loudly, "I need to speak with you in private. It concerns both of our worlds." Marcus hesitated. He didn't trust this situation. An alien general talking about his father, speaking Marcus's name as if it carried weight among Drexari. None of it made sense. Yet something in the general's tone felt honest, even heavy, like the words were a burden carried across years. Glanced at the curious faces around them. He did not want to discuss this in front of strangers. Slowly he nodded. "All right, lead the way." The general motioned, and his soldiers stepped aside. Together, the human and the Drexari walked out of the bay down silent corridors of the station. As they moved, Marcus studied him more closely. The general's armor bore scratches from old battles. His movements were disciplined, controlled, but there was no arrogance in them. This was a soldier who had seen much, perhaps too much. Finally, they entered a small chamber used for private meetings. The soldiers remained outside. The door shut with a hiss. For the first time, Marcus and the general stood alone. "I still don't understand," Marcus said, crossing his arms. "What exactly did your father tell you about me?" The general looked at him with those glowing golden eyes and answered, "He told me that when others abandoned hope, you refused to, that you turned defeat into survival, and that if the galaxy ever faced the same darkness again, only you would know how to fight it." Marcus felt the weight of the words press against him. He had thought his military past was buried, forgotten in dusty records and fading memories. But here stood living, proof that it was not forgotten at all. The alien general's voice grew lower, filled with urgency. "Marcus Hale, the darkness is returning. My father's warning was true. And whether you wish it or not, you are part of it now." Marcus took a slow breath. He did not know yet what this alien wanted. But he did know one thing. His quiet life was over. The silence in the private chamber felt heavier than the metal walls around it. Marcus stood with his arms folded, studying the Drexari general. He was still not sure if this meeting was fate, accident, or a trap. The general broke the silence first. "My name is General Kyle Dravik, son of Commander Varrock Dravik. You may not know him, but he knew you. He spoke your name many times when I was young." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Varrock Dravik? Never heard of him." Kale's expression did not change. "You saved his life." Marcus shook his head slowly. "I think I'd remember saving a Drexari commander. Your people and mine weren't exactly on friendly terms back then." Kale nodded. "Yes, officially we were enemies. Unofficially things were different. My father fought in battles the galaxy never knew about. There were secret alliances, hidden missions. My father once commanded a task force sent into a war zone no one else would enter. You were there." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "The Red Rift campaign." Kale's eyes glowed brighter, as if confirming the memory. Marcus remembered it well, though it was a memory he had tried to bury. The Red Rift was a deadly sector, filled with collapsing stars, unstable wormholes, and ambushes by a hidden enemy fleet. Marcus had been a tactical officer at the time, leading a small strike group. The battle had been chaos. Ships lost in fire, alliances broken, and desperate maneuvers to escape destruction. He had always believed the allies who helped his group survive were human ships from another division, but now Kale was suggesting something else. "You're telling me your father was there?" Marcus asked. Kale nodded firmly. "He told me how you outmaneuvered the enemy when all others thought defeat was certain. He said you sacrificed your own advantage to save his crippled ship. He said you gave him a chance to escape with survivors. He carried that memory for the rest of his life." Marcus felt a chill. He remembered ordering his ships to cover for a damaged vessel trying to limp away. He had never known who piloted it. He had not cared at the time, only that leaving it behind would mean death for hundreds. "So it was your father's ship," Marcus said softly. Kale inclined his head. "Yes, and because of you, he lived. Because of you, he told me to find you when the time came." Marcus frowned. "Find me for what?" The general's gaze hardened. "For this." He reached into a compartment on his armor and pulled out a small cube. It glowed faintly with shifting lights as if alive. He placed it on the table between them. "My father left this message for you. Not for me, not for my people. For you." Marcus stared at the cube. It was Drexari tech, advanced and encrypted. He hesitated before touching it, but curiosity won. When his fingers brushed the surface, the cube lit up brighter. A voice filled the room. It was deep, rough, and heavy with age. "If you hear this, then I am gone. My son, if you stand beside Marcus Hale, then the time has come." Marcus felt his chest tighten. The voice of Varrock Dravik echoed like a ghost from decades past. The enemy we fought in the Red Rift was not destroyed. They hid. They waited. They are returning. Marcus Hale, you saw them once. You survived them. You will be needed again. The cube flickered, then dimmed, as if the message had run out of energy. Cale's expression was grim. That is why I searched for you. My father believed only you could recognize the enemy's tactics. He believed your instincts would be the key to survival. Marcus rubbed his temples. This is insane. I'm just a retired pilot trying to stay out of trouble. I'm not the man I used to be. Cale leaned forward, his golden eyes burning. My father trusted you. He said you would never abandon those who needed you. Do you mean to prove him wrong now? Marcus's jaw tightened. He wanted to argue, to say it wasn't his problem anymore. But deep inside, he knew the truth. He had seen things others hadn't. He had fought an enemy that had no mercy, no limits. If they were returning, then the galaxy was in danger. He let out a slow breath. Even if what you say is true, what makes you think I can do anything about it now? The galaxy doesn't listen to old soldiers. Marcus Hale stood on the bridge of his ship, the Iron Wind. It was not a large vessel, but it had been through enough battles to earn his trust. Its engines rattled sometimes, the shields were old, but the controls felt like part of his own hands. Beside him stood General Cale Dravik. The alien general's armor seemed out of place inside the small, worn cockpit. His tall frame almost touched the ceiling. Yet Cale stood still, his glowing golden eyes fixed on the stars ahead. The coordinates from the cube pointed toward a dangerous region of space, the Dead Verge. Few ships dared to travel there. It was a graveyard of broken fleets, drifting wreckage, and unstable anomalies. Marcus had avoided it for years, but now it seemed their only path. Are you certain about this? Marcus asked, checking the nav charts again. Cale did not look away from the stars. Yes. The enemy hides where others will not search. My father was clear. Marcus sighed. Clear, maybe. Safe, not even close. Before they could make the jump, the Iron Wind's sensors beeped sharply. Marcus glanced at the screen. Several ships had entered the sector, fast-moving, closing in on their position. Company, Marcus muttered. Cale leaned over, reading. The signals. Not Drexari, not official patrols, these are raiders. Pirates, Marcus said, his hands already flying across the controls. And they've locked onto us. A voice cracked through the comm system, rough and mocking. Unmarked human ship, you've wandered too far from your safe lanes. Surrender your cargo and your vessel, or we'll tear you apart. Marcus rolled his eyes. They always start with the same speech. Cale's hand moved to the hilt of his blade, though weapons were useless inside the cockpit. What is your plan? My plan, Marcus said, his voice calm, is not to die today. The pirate ships fired first, bright streaks of plasma lighting the void. Marcus jerked the controls, sending the Iron Wind into a sharp dive. The small ship shook, but the blasts missed. Hold on, Marcus warned, pushing the engines harder. The Iron Wind was no warship, but it was fast when handled right. He darted between pieces of drifting wreckage, using them as cover. Cale braced against the wall. You fly like a madman. Compliment accepted, Marcus replied. The pirates gave chase, firing wildly. One shot grazed the shields, making the cockpit lights flicker. Marcus gritted his teeth. Shields won't take many more of those. Then, strike back, Cale growled. Marcus smirked. Already on it. He flipped a switch, and the Iron Wind's rear turrets activated. He sent a burst of fire behind them, forcing the closest raider to swerve. The second pirate ship kept chasing, but Marcus suddenly cut power and spun the ship sideways. The raider overshot, passing directly into his firing line. Marcus pulled the trigger. The pirate ship exploded in a burst of flame. One down. Marcus muttered. The remaining raiders hesitated, but they were not done. Their leader's voice came through the comm again, now angrier. Stubborn human, you won't escape us. Marcus tapped a few keys. Want to bet? He steered the Iron Wind straight toward a massive chunk of broken battleship floating in the void. At the last second, he dove into a narrow gap. The raiders followed, but their larger ship scraped against the wreckage, slowing them. Marcus pulled the ship into a sudden climb, blasting out of the wreckage on the far side. The raiders tried to copy him, but one clipped a piece of debris and spun out of control. The final pirate ship broke pursuit. The leader's voice cursed through the comm before cutting off. Silence returned to the cockpit. Marcus let out a slow breath. "And that's why you don't chase me through a junkyard." Kyle studied him with something like respect. "Your tactics are reckless, but effective." Marcus gave a small grin. "You should have seen me in my younger years." Still, the encounter left him uneasy. Pirates did not normally hunt this deep into neutral space. Someone might have sent them. Someone who didn't want Marcus and Cale reaching their destination. He turned to Cale. "You said your father believed the enemy would return. If that's true, maybe others already know. Maybe they're trying to stop us." Cale's expression grew darker. "Yes, which means the hunt has begun." The words hung heavy in the air. Marcus adjusted the nav computer and prepared for the jump. Stars stretched into long streaks as the iron wind entered faster than light travel. Hours passed in silence, broken only by the hum of the engines. Marcus sat in the pilot's chair, eyes on the swirling patterns outside the window. Cale stood, at his side, never moving, like a statue. Finally, Marcus spoke. "Tell me about your father." Kyle glanced at him. "What do you wish to know?" "You said he talked about me. But why?" "I was just another soldier doing his job." Kyle shook his head. "To you, perhaps, but to him you were proof that honor still existed. He said you fought for more than victory. You fought for survival for those who could not defend themselves. He wanted me to learn that lesson." Marcus looked away, uneasy with the weight of the words. He had not thought of himself as a hero. He had only done what felt necessary in the moment. Before he could respond, alarms blared again. The ship jerked violently. Marcus grabbed the controls. "What now?" he snapped. Cale checked the sensors. His golden eyes narrowed. Not pirates. Not patrols. Something worse. Marcus stared at the readings. Shapes appeared behind them. Fast, sharp alien designs unlike any he had seen in years. His stomach twisted. He remembered those shapes from the Red Rift. The enemy. The one everyone thought was gone. "They've found us," Marcus whispered. Cale's hand tightened on his blade. "Then my father was right. The war is not finished." Marcus gritted his teeth, pushing the ship harder. "No, it's just beginning again." The iron wind dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a shudder. Marcus gripped the controls, scanning the dark void ahead. Fragments of broken moons drifted around them, glowing faintly in the light of distant stars. At the center of this graveyard stood a massive, abandoned station. Its black surface looked cracked, like an ancient shell. Kyle Dravik stood tall beside him, his golden eyes fixed on the station. "That is the place. My father said the message was hidden here." Marcus frowned. The structure looked half dead, its power systems long gone. "If it's still intact, we're lucky. If it isn't, we're wasting time." "Not wasted," Cale said firmly. "Every step brings us closer to truth." Marcus sighed and guided the ship closer. The station loomed larger and larger until its ruined towers filled the viewport. The docking bays were wide open, their shields broken. He maneuvered the iron wind through jagged wreckage, finally sliding into a bay that looked stable enough. The ship settled with a thud. Lights flickered overhead, then died again. The station was silent like a tomb. "Charming," Marcus muttered, powering down the engines. Cale's hand rested on his weapon. "Be ready. Abandoned does not always mean empty." They stepped out into the docking bay. The air smelled stale, but the life support system still functioned weakly. Their footsteps echoed through the vast, hollow chamber. Marcus switched on, a wrist lamp casting pale light across walls marked with strange symbols. "This place isn't Drexari design." Kyle nodded. "No, it was built before our time. My father never explained why he chose this place to hide the message. Perhaps because no one else dares come here. They moved deeper into the station, Shadows stretched across broken corridors. Loose wires hung from the ceilings. The silence pressed down on them, heavy and unnerving. Finally, Cale stopped at a sealed chamber door. He pressed his armored hand against a hidden panel, and to Marcus's surprise, the door slowly slid open. Inside was a small control room, untouched by time. At the center sat a pedestal. Resting on it was a crystal device glowing faintly with blue light. Marcus's breath caught. That must be it. Kyle stepped forward, reverent. My father's message. Marcus approached cautiously. Careful. Traps aren't just for enemies. Sometimes they're for protecting secrets. Kyle touched the device. The crystal pulsed, then released a holographic projection. A familiar voice filled the room. Varrock Dravik's voice. If you are hearing this, then the enemy has returned, the voice said. The war we fought in the Red Rift was not the end. They were not destroyed. They only retreated, waiting for the right time. That time is now. The projection shifted, showing star maps with red lines spreading across them like fire. Marcus felt his stomach sink. These were invasion routes. Varrock's voice continued. They strike from the shadows, consuming worlds before anyone knows. They are under attack. Their strength is not only in weapons but in secrecy. They sow fear, break alliances, and strike when trust is weakest. If the galaxy is divided, it will fall. The image flickered again, focusing on a cluster of stars. The Dead Verge. This is their nest, Varrock's voice said. The source of their power. Marcus Hale, if you are here, then I beg you. Unite those who can still stand. Humans think differently. You see what others do not. You will be the spark they cannot predict. My son Kyle, trust him as I trusted him. Together, you may succeed where others fail. The projection ended. Silence filled the chamber. Marcus stared at the fading light, his mind racing. The enemy was back. Worse, they were already moving. He could almost feel the shadow spreading across the galaxy. Cale bowed his head. My father's last words. He believed in you. Marcus rubbed his jaw. Belief doesn't win wars. We need allies, and allies don't come easy. Before Cale could answer, alarms blared. The station shuddered violently. Marcus spun toward the door. We've been followed. The iron wind drifted silently through open space. Marcus Hale sat at the controls, fingers tapping restlessly on the dashboard. Every system worked just enough to keep them alive, but he knew the enemy could catch up at any moment. Behind them, the ruined station burned faintly, a reminder of the danger they had barely escaped. Cale Dravik stood beside him, scanning the stars. We cannot linger here, he said. They will follow. Marcus grunted. Tell me something I don't. No, but where do we go? We're not exactly welcome in most systems anymore. Cale's golden eyes flickered. The cube has other coordinates. They lead to allied factions who might listen, but the journey will not be easy. We must avoid patrols, pirate zones, and enemy scouts, all while carrying information that could spark war. Marcus leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. Sounds like a vacation. Cale's expression did not change. If the message falls into enemy hands, no world is safe. That is no joke. Marcus exhaled. He had always known danger followed him, but this felt larger than anything he had faced before. The enemy from the Red Rift had survived, hidden, and now they were rising again. It was a threat not just to humans, but to countless alien civilizations. Fine, Marcus said finally. We make our way to your allies. We warn them. Then what? Kyle's gaze softened slightly. Then we fight. Together. Hours passed as the iron wind slipped between asteroid belts and uncharted systems. Marcus guided the ship with careful precision, weaving through hazards that would have destroyed larger, slower vessels. Kyle remained calm, his presence steady, almost reassuring. Finally, they approached a small neutral outpost on the edge of a habitable system. The structure was old, patched, and barely operational, but it was a start. Marcus docked with skill born of years in dangerous space. As the doors opened, they stepped onto the station. It was quiet, empty of civilians but not of life. Holographic. Screens flickered, showing maps and supply data. Kale spoke first. This station is a meeting point for several allied factions. If they trust us, they may join the fight against the enemy. Marcus nodded. Trust is earned. Let's hope they listen. They moved through the station, encountering small groups of aliens and humans. Kyle's presence demanded respect. Where he went, whispers followed. Marcus noticed that even among strangers, the general's reputation preceded him. At last, they entered a chamber where leaders of several factions had gathered. Humans, Drexari, and other species he had never seen before filled the room. Eyes turned toward them as they entered. A tall alien diplomat spoke first. You bring news of old wars, or do you bring trouble? Marcus stepped forward, speaking, with the calm authority he had developed over years of command. Both. The enemy we fought long ago has returned. They are stronger, more cunning, and spreading across the galaxy in secrecy. We have proof and a plan to stop them, but we need your help. He opened the pack, revealing the glowing crystal device. The holographic maps projected into the air, displaying the dead verge and the enemy's suspected positions. Murmurs rippled through the room. Kale added, his voice steady. My father trusted Marcus Hale. He believed humans could see what others cannot. I have witnessed it firsthand. We are not alone in this fight, but time is short. Decide wisely. The leaders exchanged uncertain glances. Doubt and fear were visible on their faces. Some whispered, others stared at the map as if seeing a nightmare unfold before them. Marcus stepped closer. Look at the maps. Every world they strike weakens alliances. Every delay gives them power. If we act now, together, we can prevent their spread. If we hesitate, countless worlds will fall. Silence filled the room. Then, one of the leaders, a human commander from a distant fleet, spoke. If this is true, we cannot ignore it. I will lend my fleet to the effort. Others must follow. Drexari council member nodded. And I will join as well. This enemy threatened my people once. I will not let them rise again. One by one, other factions voiced agreement. The alliances Marcus and Kyle had hoped for were forming. A fragile, but growing coalition began to take shape. Kyle's hand rested briefly on Marcus's shoulder. Your reputation precedes you, human. You inspire confidence even among those who have never met you. That is rare. Marcus gave a small, almost embarrassed shrug. I just speak facts. The enemy is out there. We can fight them, or do nothing, and wait for the galaxy to burn. The leaders nodded in agreement. Plans began to take shape. Communications were established. Fleets were readied. Marcus found himself at the center of it all, directing actions, giving orders, and strategizing with Kale. Despite the differences in their species, they worked together seamlessly. Later, when the meeting adjourned, Marcus and Kale stepped outside, onto a balcony overlooking the stars. The view was calm, almost peaceful, but Marcus knew better. They're out there, Marcus said, pointing toward the distant dark streaks of space. And they're coming for us. Kale's golden eyes scanned the horizon. Yes, but we have a start. My father left us more than a message. He left us a chance. Together we may be able to stop them. Marcus clenched his fists. He remembered the horrors of the Red Rift, the fear, the chaos, the loss, but he also remembered survival, strategy, and courage. He had learned that fear could be a weapon if controlled, and chaos could be an advantage if understood. We'll need more than courage, Marcus said. We'll need every fleet, every pilot, every ally we can find, and we'll need to be smarter than them at every turn. Kale nodded. Then we begin. Tonight the galaxy listens. Tomorrow we act. Your skills, your experience, Marcus, they are needed more than ever. Marcus looked up at the stars. He felt a spark ignite within him, the same spark that had guided him through countless battles. He was no longer just a retired pilot. He was part of something larger, something that could save the galaxy, or see it destroyed. and for the first time in a long while, he felt ready. The fleets gathered slowly, shimmering against the darkness of space like distant stars coming to life. Marcus Hale stood on the command deck of the largest human ship present, the Iron Wind acting as the central hub. Around him, alien leaders and human commanders coordinated strategies, their voices mixing in urgent chatter. Kyle Dravik stood beside him, silent but alert. The Drexari general's presence was commanding. Every officer in the room respected his word. Together they formed an unusual but powerful team, a combination of human unpredictability and Drexari precision. Marcus's eyes scanned the holographic map above the deck. Red markers indicated enemy positions. Their numbers were larger than expected. The enemy fleet had grown during their hidden years, striking from unknown bases, and now it was moving fast. Every second counted. Faster than we thought, Marcus muttered. They've learned something. Kale's golden eyes were steady. Yes, but they cannot predict everything. Humans never can be predicted. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Good. Then let's make sure they remember that. The enemy approached the dead verge, their jagged ships cutting through the void. Marcus activated the fleet-wide comms. All units, listen up. The enemy is counting on fear and confusion. Don't give it to them. Stick to your formations, trust your instincts, and adapt. Human or alien, it doesn't matter. What matters is victory. There was a pause. Then every ship acknowledged with a chorus of affirmations. Marcus felt a surge of determination. Ready? Kale asked, standing at his side. As ready as we'll ever be, Marcus said. The battle began. Enemy ships fired plasma and laser arrays, striking the Allied fleets with deadly precision. Many of the Allied ships shook under the bombardment, but Marcus and Kale had anticipated this. Flank from the left, Marcus shouted. Human pilots darted around the enemy lines, unpredictable and fast. Alien units followed Kale's precise commands, cutting through gaps and creating openings. The combination was deadly. The enemy faltered, unable to respond to such a hybrid strategy. They expected conventional patterns, but Marcus's unpredictability and Kale's discipline created chaos in their ranks. Marcus piloted the Iron Wind directly into the heart of the enemy fleet, dodging fire, weaving between massive vessels. He fired precise shots at key enemy ships, disabling weapons and shields. Each action inspired the Allied forces, showing them that the enemy could be beaten. Kale moved through the fleet, coordinating attacks from his command ship. Alien squadrons, cut-off reinforcements. Drexari precision strikes tore through command vessels, and humans flanked unpredictably, striking fear into the enemy. Hours passed in a blur of fire and strategy. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath as ships collided, exploded, and twisted through the void. Marcus's mind worked tirelessly, calculating moves, anticipating responses, and guiding the Allied fleet. At a critical moment, the enemy concentrated, their fire on a large human carrier. Marcus shouted, "Protect the carrier! Draw their attention away from it!" He maneuvered the Iron Wind into position, taking a direct hit from enemy plasma. Sparks flew across the bridge, but Marcus held the controls. Kale's voice cut through the chaos. "Now, Marcus, strike their flagship." Marcus nodded, trusting Kale's insight. He fired a calculated volley at the enemy flagship, piercing its defenses. The massive ship shuddered and exploded in a burst of light. The enemy formation broke apart instantly. Cheers erupted from the Allied fleets. Marcus allowed himself a breath, though the battle was far from over. Tarred, exploiting ever.